So, today, what we're talking about is Graham Platner, right? So, Graham Platner, as folks may know, or may not know, he has a tattoo. And some people have come out recently and said that that tattoo is a little problematic. And let me just say, first and foremost, that I do not endorse or support any tattoos. Like, I have no tattoos myself. Nor do I oppose people who get tattoos. You see, when it comes to certain topics, like, is it right to have a tattoo? Is it not right to have a tattoo? I kind of view it as like smoking. Like, smoking is bad for you, sure, but I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum, first and foremost, because I believe in personal freedom, in personal liberty, and in personal dignity. So let's just get that right out of the way. If you want to get a tattoo in your life, you are more than welcome to. In fact, I encourage you to go get one right now. In fact, I've had some cute little tattoo ideas for myself that I've been cooking up. But like I said, I am non-biased. I don't take a stand on anything because I'm a journalist. I am an abundance Democrat. I am conservative. I am liberal. I am a socialist. I'm a communist. I'm also extremely right-wing. And I agree with everything that President Trump has done and said and will do and will say in the future. But I'm also a liberal, and I'm also progressive. And I'm also basically a New York Times columnist. In fact, I might as well be a New York Times columnist. In fact, they should be paying me not to write for them. That's how good I am, okay? So, let's just get that out of the way. The second thing I want to get out of the way is, regardless of whatever designs, I want to be clear that I'm a liberal. I'm a progressive. Whatever the tattoo may mean to you lefties out there, I have the credentials, okay? I've read this cover to cover several times. In fact, take a look at this. You see that? I'm reading it. I'm reading through it right now, you stupid lefties. I'm sorry. And I also read this again, constantly. Do you even see any liberals do that? Of course not. I'm as liberal as they come. I voted for Hillary Clinton, not once, but twice. In fact, no, I voted for her in my entire lifetime, like at least 12.5 times. So don't even come at me saying like, oh, she's a far-right goon. That's what you sound like. It's just a fact. You sound like a crazy person. You don't sound mentally sane in the head. Or if you think you do, I just want you to pause and think, am I doing the thing right now that helps Democrats get closer to power? Because that should be the number one question in your mind at all times. If you're asking yourself, what is homegirl gonna get for herself for lunch today? Your question has one answer. How does this benefit the Democrats? You need to view yourself as a partisan actor. You cannot be running around the world without a care in your mind, not thinking about your position. Everything you say and you do, the very air you breathe and exhale, has a political purpose. Every moment in your life, if you are not advancing the Democrats from point A, where we have no power, to point B, where we have power, You are wasting your time. You are wasting your life. I don't care if you have kids. I don't care if you care for your parents. I don't care about any of that. I care about, one, what are you doing to help the Democratic Party today? Because that's right. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It doesn't matter that you knocked on 100 doors yesterday. Who cares about yesterday? I care about today. I care about right now. I care about your quota. Have you hit your target today? Have you called 100,000 voters? You have not. Therefore, you have failed. That is a fact. So, since we're talking about facts, let's go in to the discussion about Mr. Platner, or as I think that he'll rightfully be called, as Senator Platner. Because I think, okay, let's be real for a moment. He's a hunk. Like, girlfriends. He is hunkadorous, hunkalicious, bootylicious. And that's number one when you're looking at a political candidate. It's not about what they support. I want to be absolutely clear about that. What a candidate says, what they believe in, what they vote in, that does not matter. All that matters, friends, is that they are in office, that they are in politics. Once they are in office, of course they're going to pass universal health care. That's the whole point. We tell Americans to their face, hey, I'm just like you. And then, when they give us power, then of course we pass everything that we always wanted to. But that means that we can't do litmus tests. That means we shouldn't limit ourselves because certain candidates have certain unsavory things on their skin or whatever. Like, no, let's be real about this. We care about victory and hot guy tattoos that many voters in Maine will relate to equals victorious candidate. That is like plain and simple to me. And I really wish that the Democrats would stop infighting and come up with better ideas themselves. Like, I personally and honestly believe that Janet Mills is a much better, far superior candidate, but I fear that she's just another Sarah Gideon, who lost in 2020. By the way, she was a woman, she was progressive, she was a liberal. Some would even say her politics align closer to mine. But here's the point. She lost. She was exactly the type of candidate that we wanted so desperately to beat Susan Collins. And she lost. And now I fear that Janet Mills is going to fall by the same wayside because Democrats keep on nominating candidate after candidate after candidate who does not represent the values, the fundamental values that their states represent. Maine especially. Like, if we're talking about Maine is like 97% white. Okay? Like the number the number 2 language in Maine, you know what it is? It's not Spanish. It's French. You wouldn't think that at first glance. It's like, French? Where's that coming from? French Canada, of course, right across the border. But still, 97% white, 3% French. What are we doing here, guys? Why are we trying to put up another... You know, speaking as a woman, I love women candidates. I want women to run all the time. But I want my women candidates to be able to win. And Graham Platner, he's a veteran. He's small business owner, speaks like Mainers, looks like Mainers, has tattoo like Mainers. Like, we are looking at an all-around Maine working class candidate. Someone who is uniquely triangulated to win in Maine. I would go so far as to say that if Democrats were thinking correctly, we would have a guy like Graham Platner running across all 50 states. If we want to beat Donald Trump, if we want to build durable coalitions that can stand up to the Republican Party, that requires a little bit more foresight. That requires us to take bold leaps that people might be afraid to take. And I get it. I'm afraid of leaps myself. But I always think of, like, when it comes to leaps, like the big leap forward that, they had in places like China. They started with little leaps, and then it became big leaps. And that's how they got to the moon, one leap at a time. It was a great step forward for mankind. Just like we did in 1969, we can do it again in 2025. So, ultimately, I don't want us to look at someone like Graham Platner and think we don't like him because of what he said or what he wrote on Twitter or what he wrote on Reddit or what he has tattooed on his body. Like, if you truly think like that, you don't want Democrats to win again. You want Donald Trump to be in power forever. You want the Republican Party to be in power forever. I do want to be clear about Janet Mills, though. I think that she is, and I don't just think this, everyone agrees, that she is the most progressive governor ever since FDR in the 1920s. Like, frankly, there is no one better, and she's extremely experienced, like, highly experienced. She has nearly 3 decades of life experience under her belt. Graham Platner, he's only halfway there. So, I think when we're looking at candidate quality, Janet Mills, Graham Platner, except Graham Platner with his, shall we say, physical appearance and his other appearances make him a far better and more suitable candidate. Like, honestly, here's some advice to the Mills campaign. Book your candidate for a tattoo appointment ASAP, because, girl, you are losing out on the votes you will need to win if you have a chance in hell to not only beat Platner, but to beat Susan Collins. Because let me tell you right now, Susan Collins is looking at that tattoo and going, oh shit, I better get a tattoo myself. And she has a point. We all need similar tattoos to, again, like I said earlier at the start of the stream, what are you doing to help advance the Democratic Party? Everything that you do, every breath you take, every step you take, every move you make should be to helping the Democratic Party. Everything you do, you wake up, you take a shower, you eat your breakfast, you pet your dog, you walk your dog, you shock your dog. You're doing it for the Democrats. Okay? I do it for the Democrats. Everything I do it for the Democrats. Now, there are pearl clutchers out there who are going to be hewing and crying over ink on skin that old Platner got in Croatia. But let me assure you, the last thing Democrats want to do at this moment is to establish litmus tests. All we care about are candidates who win. It does not matter what they say, what they do, what they vote for. What matters is the victory and the resultant political power that comes with that victory. Only through the struggle can we achieve any victory whatsoever. And Platner, through his military service and through his artistic design choices, has proven he understands what struggle means, and he understands what victory takes. And we have to remember that Graham Platner is not running in some multi-culty socialist paradise like New York City. He's running in Maine, where people are expecting a certain caliber of candidate quality. And further, I just want to say, like, to all the people who might be concerned that Graham Platner is tossing minorities under the bus, newsflash, kiddo, hello! Minorities only exist as speed bumps on the way to majoritarian power. I say this as a minority myself. I will gladly place myself as a rhetorical speed bump in the middle of the road if it means Democrats winning majoritarian power again. Most other minorities would agree with me. Let's be clear. And thus, my theory, or let's just say the abundance theory, because it is shared by every single abundance Democrat like myself, the abundance theory of electoral victory for Platner or any Democrat wanting to beat a Republican is thus straightforward. We need to entice the Republican Party, the Republican base, into voting for us. Plain and simple. As for the Democrats, we need to get a giant power drill, drill into their goddamn skulls, implant nanomachines, and then a little bit of hypnotherapy, and entice them, by God, by whatever magical powers remain in this universe, to vote blue no matter who. With exception to socialists, of course. I mean, in that case, you might as well be voting for a Republican. Am I right, folks? Am I right? Of course I'm right. Anyways. Of course, like I said, the race is still open. And we will be on the constant lookout for updates as they come in. As always, this has been Girl Boss. And I don't know.